As much as I do love the Satan tattoo, it is really awkward when I go and get a pedicure and I have to like plop my Satan tattoo right in front of their face. And it's just so poorly done, like with a sewing needle. So if I were to do it over, I probably just wouldn't have done that. But 16-year-old me was really feeling it, really feeling the worshiping Satan vibes that day. So it's okay, you live with it. And I laugh when I look at it because it brings me back to those memories of like being in my parents' house tattooing myself and being crazy, the worst kid ever, pretty much. I'm Natasha Gray. I'm a tattoo model and cosmetic tattoo artist.
Hi, I'm Josh, and I'm a self-employed artist.
So I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. Kind of a lame story. I finally moved out of my hometown and opened my tattoo studio.
I moved around a lot, but ended up coming back to Ohio almost a decade ago, and I made it my place to grow.
Okay, so the first time I ever saw a heavily tattooed person, it was on the internet. It was a suicide girl, and I specifically remember she had stars tattooed on her nipples. And being like never exposed to tattoos or anything like that, I was like, wow, that is intense. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I want to be that covered one day. It was like there was a shock and awe factor, and I was like, I want to look like that when I grow up. What about you?
I think the first tattoo I saw was on my brother, and it was just a skull, and he definitely did it to himself. I was obsessed with it though. I still think it's the coolest tattoo he has.
That is pretty cool. It's like a stick and poke, right?
Exactly.
Classic.
My brothers always say they like broke my dad in. So like when I went off the deep end, they're like, okay, well, it's Josh.
Yeah. Not to get dark, but I feel like tattoos really can boost your confidence, and growing up having low self-esteem, seeing people with tattoos, it made me think, oh, that's a way where I can decorate my body and start to learn to love myself a little bit more. So the second I turned 18, I went and got my sleeve outlined, and like slowly but surely, the more covered I get, the more I feel better about myself. So it's kind of been this journey in like self-improvement through tattooing, basically. My first tattoo is like this really terrible Satan stick and poke that I did myself, upside down and backwards in a mirror with a sewing needle. I started tattooing myself when I was like 13 or 14. I have some left, like this little moon. Most of them are covered up. I've got some on my hands. I started off with stick and pokes because my mom wouldn't let me get tattooed, and I said I'm gonna take matters into my own hands.
Literally.
Pierced my nose, started tattooing myself and my friends, and it's been a crazy ride though, because I would have never guessed that I would have started tattooing professionally through this whole journey. So I'm really thankful for what tattoos have done for me in my life. I was sitting in high school one day, and my 15-year-old friend had a giant tattoo, and I'm like, where'd you get that? How'd you get that? We're teenagers. So she gives me the phone number of this guy that tattoos out of his house. And just like him, I wanted to get it in a spot where people would see it. So I got this spider web behind my ear, and you can't really hide that one so much unless my hair is down. But eventually my parents just gave up on the tattoos and everything, because once I turned 18 and it was my choice to start covering myself, they're like, well, here she goes. They didn't care as long as I was safe and not going to some creepy guy to get tattooed. The guy that did this, he was a normal guy, not a creepy guy, just in his house. What can you do?
Yeah.
I mean, he did tattoo like a 15-year-old.
Yeah, maybe that is creepy. To be fair, he didn't ID me, which is also creepy.
All right.
Anyways, every tattoo girl has gotten that sketchy non-ID'd, right? It's a thing. I can't be the only one.
Well, I tattooed myself in pottery class with a pottery needle.
What? Ouch.
I mean, what? You're it's 15 and you're in pottery class. We had Indian ink, and I saw the needle and I was like, oh, I'm gonna do some dots on my arm. And I only got like a couple of them to stay, but that was my first tattoo technically.
So tribal.
So we both tattooed ourselves.
Aw.
But my first tattoo I got when I was 18, and my brother, my oldest brother, took me to this biker shop in Detroit, of all places. And I just like terrified 18-year-old Josh. Walk in there, I didn't say a word, like showed him the sketch, and then he gave me this, which looks like nothing like my drawing, and not even the same color. So maybe he was colorblind, I don't know.
Colorblind tattooer.
But I just sat there, he put on Metallica, and I was like, cool, Metallica's cool. And it was just like, I'm getting tattooed. And I got it right here because I play guitar, and I was like, I want everyone to see it when I'm playing guitar.
How did you go about building your collection?
So, for me, I've always liked the imagery of snakes and flowers. When I was a little kid, my mom painted snakes and flowers on my bedroom wall. So I've just always been obsessed with snakes and flowers. So naturally, when I started my sleeve, that was my plan. And I so far have gotten 3 snakes and tons of flowers. So I'm really addicted to that imagery. It's kind of hard. Once you find something you like, you have to keep yourself from getting it tattooed over and over and over. I'm gonna be the snake lady by the time I'm covered. What about you?
Well, I mean, I got a tattoo when I was 18, got a tattoo when I was 21, and then skip forward like 7 years, and then I have money and power to do whatever I want with my life. So I was like, oh yeah. Like it started with a dream. I had a dream. I saw myself in a mirror, fully tattooed, and I was like, gonna make it happen. So I woke up and like went to the shop that was recommended to me. I was like, I want to get a sleeve. Go get me a sleeve. But I wanted to start with a hand tattoo, so I would just look ridiculous, like a patch on my hand, and I'd just be like, I have to get more tattoos. Now I just kind of like, if I get tattooed by someone new, it's just gonna be something like different, or like something I just feel really attracted to. But most of the time it just ends up being like my friends or like people I know, and it's just like, you're a solid dude, solid tattooer, hook me up.
Do you remember the first time, like, you noticed someone staring at you?
Oh,
Because of your tattoo?
So, oh God, the first time or the last time, it happens all the time. But what's great about being with him is that I just like hide behind him, and then people will call him. So I get harassed so much less now because people just look straight at his tattoos or his ears. People love asking, did those hurt? That's like their intro, their gateway to calling you. Oh my gosh. But we were at Universal, and this guy's like, that's too much. Like, people will look at our tattoos and they're like, that's cool, but I couldn't get a full sleeve. That would just be trashy, or that's too much. And it's like,
yeah, people
what?
just kind of like, I don't want to go too far and say dehumanize, but it's just like, they just see the tattoos on your arm and like look at you, and they aren't thinking about like you sitting there trying to get gas, or you sitting there like you're at the grocery store like trying to do your thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm an art gallery, come look at me and let me answer all your questions. Yes.
Right.
But I love it. I try not to get upset, because on that trip her little brother and sister pointed out like, you guys get so many compliments, and I'm like, wow, at this point I just like, I'd rather people just not say anything.
Right.
But
it's kind of sweet, but also kind of really weird
relentless.
at the same time. Relentless, yeah.
Do you think there was a point in your life where you went from being just somebody with some tattoos to becoming a quote-unquote tattooed person?
I love this question because I finally feel like a tattooed person after getting my neck tattooed, because something about getting hands, neck, and face, that triad right there makes you feel like I'm a tattooed person.
Yeah, my neck tattoo was definitely, people looked at me different after that. There's like, what?
Now that you are both fairly covered, are your motivations for getting tattooed different?
Yeah, definitely now it's just like, well, I haven't been getting tattooed as frequently, but I definitely am just saving like spots for artists that I really want to get tattooed by and stuff like that. As before, I was just like filling in space with people I like. Now I'm like, I don't really have any space for like big tattoos anymore, and those are my favorite.
That's crazy.
So I'm like, it changes a lot. And I appreciate different things now, like, I don't know, when it comes to tattoos and tattooing. So it's like, I definitely have changed a lot in what I get.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna stop. I feel like I'm gonna be like one of those people with like layers and whatnot.
I'm at the stage where I'm just trying to fill up space. My goal was to have 2 sleeves by the time I was 21, so I'm 22 now. I sort of accomplished that goal, even though this one's not covered in. But my goal is to just have a full Japanese bodysuit, even though the neck isn't usually a part of that, or hands. I just want to have like one big cohesive tattoo that all connects. Once I decided that I wanted to get covered in Japanese tattoos, I figured I had to pay some sort of homage and honor tabori tattoo and find an artist that did that style. So I came to New York. I went to Takashi Matsuba. He tattooed this giant dragon on my side, and it takes twice as long to do tabori, so it's been a long time coming. It's been like 4 years now I've been working on it. So I'm really eager to finish it, but I love tabori tattoo and I recommend it for anyone interested. It's a really different process and feels way better than machine. You get into like a meditating state because it's quieter. It's not that loud, vibrating buzzing. You're just like sitting there calm with like this soft like flicking noise instead of bzzz right in your face. And just listening to the rhythm of the tabori needles flick it just puts you in the zone. I normally like fall asleep or just drift away. But anytime I get tattooed with a machine, I'm wide awake. I'm like, I can't wait for this to end. But the tabori is really pleasant. It looks really intense. People are always like, that looks really painful, but that's okay. It makes me look tough because it's really not that bad.
How do you feel that your tattoos have influenced your life?
Definitely, I just wouldn't be here. Like, I mean, I wouldn't have met her.
Yeah, we met through
like,
his chin tattoo.
This picture of after I first got it, she started following me afterwards.
And it was, like he said, really swollen and like halfway up his face. And it just looked so gnarly and badass. I was like, who is this guy? If he wouldn't have gotten this chin tattoo, I don't know if we would have met. So that changed both of our lives. Now we're engaged.
If you had to start over, would you do everything the same way you have?
No. I would love to just get giant front piece, giant back piece. Like I said, big tattoos are my favorite, and it just sucks like that came to me like well into my journey because I just think that looks so cool.
Yeah.
But I enjoy like no rag rats. I love my tattoos.
It's hard to say because as much as I do love this Satan tattoo, it is really awkward when I go and get a pedicure and I like plop my Satan tattoo right in front of their face. And it's just so poorly done, like with a sewing needle. So if I were to do it over, I probably just wouldn't have done that. But 16-year-old me was really feeling it. Okay, you live with it. And I laugh when I look at it because it brings me back to those memories of like being in my parents' house tattooing myself and being crazy, the worst kid ever, pretty much. That's definitely where my love for tattooing started, when I was tattooing myself and my friends. That was a crucial key factor in my life because I always knew I wanted to tattoo, but I didn't know what style or how to start. So once I discovered cosmetic tattooing and permanent makeup, everything clicked and went and got certified for that. And now that I have my job as a cosmetic tattooer, it's like my life is complete. Like I'm where I am, I'm where I'm meant to be. I get to help people feel more confident through tattooing, which is the best part of my job. So yeah, I think it started all the way back then from that first stick and poke, and then I got addicted ever since.
It all started with Satan.
Yeah, it all started with the Satan stick and poke.